Okay, it is 6 something. Good morning. This is Negotiating with Jesus. Got up early, did all my tasks. So this end of life scenario, it's the last maybe quarter of my life. If you divide, I don't know, maybe it's the last 10 seconds of my life, and you watch somebody die on YouTube. So Negotiating with Jesus, I said that. So I'm getting ready to go to work, and I did my morning routine. So whatever I'm going to do here in this kind of video journal, whatever this is, and I would love in this little corner to do the dialogues, and I'm going to use the Vervaeke dialogos, and I don't care about fancy words, not at all. I want to be some kind of dumber downer, and not because we don't need all to be lifted into a higher state of awareness, but because in some way I think people are endowed with this spirit of awareness, and you see in the common sense, the common folk, this kind of wisdom that Vervaeke is looking for in the institution, in the higher learning institutions. And it's like you talk to a farmer, and there it is in some way. It's right there. You talk to an old widow who's raised children and lived some kind of life that was not educated, not a world traveler, not some sophisticated person, but full of wisdom. So what is that? What in the world? So where in the world was I going with that? So I did my morning routine this last quarter of my life. I'm trying to do a couple things in order to actually choose what's going to happen in this part of my life. So I've not been a big goal-oriented person. I do what's before me, and have some kind of vague goals where I'm heading, because you have to choose something. If you want to walk through a field, you have to not let combinatorial explosiveness. You have to choose a path. So I keep laughing and closing my eyes, and YouTube grabs that from my cover of my videos, and I always look, in my mind, really dumb. They're really terrible pictures. So I need to keep my eyes open and keep a serious expression so that YouTube will grab something that looks very sophisticated. So my morning routine, and I did a video yesterday of a second guitar lesson, and my lessons are going to be very generic, and I don't know if they'll be useful or not, but I'm going to try and do the arty side of this little corner, is the idea that beauty will save us. So back to where I'm trying to say I did my routine, which is getting up, doing my morning duties, drinking some coffee, and then doing these exercises of breathing, and then calisthenics type exercises, just enough to make sure the habit is becoming ingrained. Then I do my prayer rituals and the Bible reading. I allow my app to cover a lot of territory. I go through so much Bible, it's ridiculous. And the Bible app, YouVersion, has a nice British reader who will read you. I use Professor Horner's Bible reading method. I think it's called something like that, Professor Horner, and you go through 10 chapters in the Bible of different sections, and it's quite a lot of consumption of Bible, and it's not hard for me because in the morning I have a routine. So 30 minutes is this guy reading, and I hear these stories so often. They are in my imagination, they're in my view of, they're in my character in some way. They've been planted. So I did my routine. exercises. Then I did my guitar. The lesson that I did was learn C, G, and D, 3 chords. I think I'm going to mention some songs or maybe play an example of why these 3 chords would be helpful in taking you to some level where you can play songs. And that's what an artist needs to do, is get to a level. It's what everyone needs to do, is get past the rudimentary, the beginner level, to somebody who can perform. So it even happens in like Little League. You start with T-ball, and you get to Little League, and then the performances are quite enjoyable. And it's not Major League. It might be better than Major League, which would be very strange, because the bigs are where all the greats are. So they're the top of the hierarchy. And yet, in my mind, there's something going on at the bottom of the hierarchy, where all the work of the world is done at the base. And regular people carry the world. And these stars, these superstars who reach this summit, everybody notices them, but it's not clear to me that they're the ones who are actually carrying the world. A lot of them are cruel. There are some heroic individuals. There are a lot of cruel dictators sitting at the top of the hierarchy. And that's where we find ourselves struggling with, will we, here in America, will we have a cruel dictator? And depending on which side of the debate you are on, it doesn't matter what happens, half of the nation will say, yes, we now have a cruel dictator that in some way it would be better for us to overthrow. And it's both sides, and neither one has a great argument. It's just people fighting, and that's what people do. They fight. So my video this morning, I'm listening to Jordan Peterson talk to Destiny. A little bit of that. An old Vanderklay throwback. He versus Vaush. And I saw Sam comment that he was put in a time machine or something. It's 4 years ago. We had Chad talk to Chad, a couple conversations that were good. Oh yeah, Luke is on now. And I don't know if Chad's going to show up. It's Neil with an A. And then to me, so that Vanderklay points to Grimm so often, because he has this way of phrasing things and framing things that is somebody who's not at the top of the hierarchy. Or is he? Is he a mystic? Is he sitting alone on a mountain and people have to try and scratch their way up to the top and hear his wise words? Does he see something? Is he a prophet that he sees something? That it's obvious when he says it. Set. That is so fascinating. And that Cale Zeldin and Paul did a whole video on defending against the dark arts and Set, and it went all the way back to the Enlightenment or the Protestant Reformation. And these things are swirling around, and it's fascinating. I love it. But my channel is going to be more a guy who's just trying to work locally, embodying. So when I became, in my testimony, and I'll talk to Chad in July, is my scheduled discussion with Chad and Neil. So in my mess of a life, I came from a place of childhood destructive behavior to some kind of rescue where I became a follower of Jesus. And I thought it was interesting that in the discussion with this sociologist, that Chad, Grimm, and some other dude that I am not real familiar with, they had, Grimm does not identify as Christian. because Christian is becoming some kind of slur that, like, it's always been. It's always been throwing Christians to lions or saying they should be cast out. We are not like them. Well, I identify as that, and I have no problem saying Christian, so I'm a little Christ. Now, what that is not me saying that I'm like Christ. There's some strange thing that I'm to be a little Christ, and it's not much. But I'm supposed to see myself following him. So, well, where does he go? He goes to the grave. He goes to death. I'm to carry a cross. Well, what is that? That's an implement of torture. So the implication is that I'm going to be tortured and die. And Jesus commands it. You go ahead and be tortured and die, and that will save the world. So you identify that, and then people find you that you fail them. Well, there you're following Jesus. They insult, they demean. It's the religion. If you want to insult a religion, this is definitely the one to insult, because there's very little consequence to insulting Christianity. And the Tom Holland idea that T-Grog was pressing against everything that I stand for. Tom Holland is full of BS. Is some kind of, this is me trying to remember and interpret all the things that I heard, and it's too much video information. That Christianity is used to critique Christianity. Well, that's kind of interesting. Christianity is the standard by which Christians are held, and they fail. So Christ, he wasn't a Christian. He didn't follow Jesus. So Jesus wasn't the first Christian. Everyone afterwards were the little bit of Jesus, the little Christ. Jesus was a Jew and didn't seem to command anyone to be Jews. He's very paradoxical. You don't get to put him in any kind of box, because the second you do, someone will point out how that is exactly the wrong way to frame Jesus. He breaks all frames. So why in the world did I get here? I'm just trying to get this last quarter of my life and then give a little reference for what this channel is. It's going to be me doing things in a community, embodying. That's where I was trying to go. When I was rescued, not because of brilliance or because of righteousness, but because of being caught. So if there are fishers of men, I am someone who got that fish hook right in my lip, and I'm not a fish who wanted to be caught. That would be ridiculous. That would blow apart the metaphor. No, I'm a fish who was caught by something shiny that I bit, and I was dragged into a boat, and I flip around in the boat. I'm not happy about being in the boat. I was caught. I have nothing to boast about. Yeah, there's another one of those idiots that bit the worm or the lure and got a fish hook stuck in his lip and was dragged into a boat, flipping and flapping, and I was caught. But I also am somebody who kind of embodies, because I like just to do stuff. It's part of my nature. It's not that I'm brilliant or dedicated. It's just that I like to do stuff, and I like to do stuff that I want to do. So I have problems with authority. And I'm a little too much of a creative type character that I want to make up whatever I do. I want to make it up, not be under someone's direction. So I tend to go into like youth ministry or something where I can kind of lead people who are easy to lead, because the hard ones to lead, we get into a tussle, and I'm not confrontational. Someone doesn't want to follow. I don't force anybody down any road. I am not a director of cattle into cattle chutes. And there are people whose personality and temperament is such that they will tell people where to go. I don't tell people where to go. I'm just some dude. So very average guy. This is going to be an average channel with average effort and maybe low level. Maybe it will not strike anyone that this is a new star. And yeah, no kidding. I'm going to be someone in like all of humanity, someone who will be forgotten. It's what almost all humanity is. You remember King Tut, Tutankhamun, whatever, the pyramid builder, whoever he is. You don't remember the tens of thousands of people who died, gave their lives so that this dope could be buried in a pyramid with treasures and cats, as if he was one of the great movers of the world. The tens of thousands that are dead and forgotten may have moved his whole world, and he just got some kind of benefit because of the cult of personality or whatever it was, because he was clever and could talk people into following. Like so many cruel dictators, he had some real skills. It's not clear what it means to be on the top of the hierarchy unless you carefully examine Jesus. Like, oh, that guy kind of belongs there. So the separation of heaven and earth and hell. So that's it for today. That's enough rambling. I don't know if I said anything coherent, but this is going to be just a regular guy vlog. I'll do another guitar lesson. I'll try and get some C, D, G songs. I'll try and go over this caged idea of how to learn the fretboard. I'll show you my basic practices, and at some point I'll do songs, which I already have a couple videos of songs. But my goal is eventually to do some songs and testimony, to embody in person, talking about a life of loss and destruction that was redeemed, not because of my effort, but because I was caught. So that's it for now. This will be posted, and I'll talk to you again.